I visited India's second largest ashram, that is Isha Yoga Center at Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. Since I went there for sadhana purpose, I experienced each and every volunteer and the entire environment with a very close proximity. Those people in ashram, their eyes are very different. They wake up before dawn without an alarm. They move with an absolute sense of purpose while everyone else is still hitting snooze. They sit for sadhana without asking how they feel. They eat, work, sleep, and practice without deviation. While everyone else makes excuses about being too busy, they have already finished 3 hours of practice before 8 am. And do you know what normal people say about them? Man, they have got too deep. That's not sustainable. On the contrary, when someone outside the ashram tries to replicate the same sadhana at home, the same kriya, the same instruction, the same intention, they eventually fail. And do you know, there's a level of discipline and intensity that exists only in people who have lived inside a spiritual ashram. There's a complete ecosystem designed by the realized masters like those in Isha Yoga Center that produces exactly this type of frightening consistency. They call it sadhana, a tool to dissolve your limitation. And once you understand the mechanism of how the ashram works, you will understand why you are failing at home. But there's a catch. This level of discipline isn't for dabblers. It requires you to surrender the very part of yourself that thinks that it knows what is best for you. Today you will understand exactly where that intensity comes from and how the entire framework actually works. So do watch the complete video and also do not forget to like and subscribe the channel. The story I'm about to tell you happened to an accountant named Arjun. He was a very good guy, highly ambitious, but spiritually he was starving. He had learned the practices, Shambhavi Mahamudra, Surya Kriya, but he had one problem. He couldn't stick to them in a city apartment for more than 2 weeks. Work stress, he would skip the morning session. A bad night's sleep, he would skip the evening session. Weekend social plans, the practice vanished entirely. The pattern was always the same. Monday, total resolve after watching an inspiring video. Wednesday, the first mental negotiation because his back hurts. Friday, complete surrender to Netflix. And finally Sunday, guilt and promises about the next fresh start. Arjun tried everything. Waking up earlier, setting reminders, watching more motivational content, but nothing worked because he was actually fighting a battle he couldn't ever win. Fighting a domestic environment designed for comfort against a practice designed for transformation until the day he visited ashram and saw volunteers who had been maintaining this schedule for 7 years without missing a single morning. And no, it wasn't just devotion, it was something much more deeper and much more structural. In a consecrated space like Isha, there's an unspoken rule that changes everything. The structure is supreme and the individual will is secondary. Do you understand what that means? It means that every single day during a program at 3:40 am the wake-up call happens. Every single day hundreds of people rise. Not at 3:35 am, not at 3:50 am. Exactly during Brahma Muhurtam at 3:40 am. You want to know what never happens in those dormitories? No sadhakas lies in bed thinking, do I really feel like doing yoga today? The question simply doesn't exist in that space. Why? Because they understand something you don't yet about your own mind. Your brain at home categorizes the spiritual practices into 2 boxes. Optional or non-negotiable. Optional commitment becomes mental negotiations. Non-negotiable commitments simply happen, like brushing the teeth. When someone enters the ashram for intense sadhana, they aren't making any promises to try hard. They're stepping into a container where trying is irrelevant. They're adopting the identity of a sadhaka, a practitioner. The entire environment witnesses this. The clothing changes to white. The identity shifts and the negotiation ends. Neuroscience tells us that environment dictates behavior far more than willpower. When you are surrounded by 500 other people moving in same direction, your primitive brain interprets deviation as separation from the tribe. And that's exactly what Arjun had to learn. At home, he was making private promises in chaotic environment. He needed to create an ashram ecosystem within his own home. He wrote on a paper, I am a sadhaka and my practice space is sacred territory every morning from 5 am to 7 am for the next 48 days, that is one mandala. He told his family and he told his boss too that he was unavailable before 8 am. His wife said, you're being too rigid. His friend said, you're turning into a monk. Relax a little. Perfect. Their resistance was proof that he was finally setting a real boundary. Every morning he wanted to sleep in. Then he thought about having to admit that he couldn't hold his own sacred space against the pull of normal life. Day 3 brought the first real test. The alarm was 5 am. Immediately, his mind began its usual routine at home. You had a late meeting, you need to sleep for peak performance, so do a shorter practice. But something fundamental has changed now. The declaration that his space was sacred made violating it painful. Breaking his words to himself felt like desecrating his own altar. The structure had made giving up more painful than continuing. But here, the real problem began. Even with his new resolve, Arjun was waging war every single day inside his apartment. His body didn't care about his spiritual goals. It wanted comfort. The declaration had ended the mental negotiation, but he still fought the inertia of his home environment. And that's when he realized the ashram's second principle, the consecrated container. Every day at home, you waste mental energy fighting friction. Where is my yoga mat? The floor is cold. The kitchen is very messy, so I should clean it first. These micro decisions bleed out the energy you need for sadhana. You're wasting your fuel building a car instead of driving it. In the ashram, the container is fully prepared. The mats are laid, the space is energetically charged, the temperature is regulated, and the variables are removed. Arjun then realized that he couldn't just choose a time. He had to build a container. So, he didn't just wake up at 5 am. He spent the night before preparing. Mat laid out, neem and turmeric ready on the counter, clothes set aside, and no phone in the bedroom. The preparation wasn't about optimization, it was about elimination. Eliminating every possible friction point between waking up and sitting on the mat. The first week was completely hell. His domestic biology fought against it. And that's normal because your home is encoded as a place of rest and indulgence. And you're forcing it to become a place of intense discipline. So it resists. In the second week, something changed. He started waking up before the alarm, sensing the quiet of his house. His body had begun preparing for influx of energy. On the 14th day, the alarm rang and he was already sitting in Ardha Siddhasana. No thought, no decision, just alignment. Here's what people don't understand about ashram's discipline. It's not about forcing yourself. It's about surrendering to a structure designed to carry you. When you practice at home without a structure, you're trying to carry yourself. But now, again Arjun discovered a new problem. His timing was fixed, but his mind kept trying to tweak the practice itself. Maybe I'll do the longer meditation today and skip the physical kriyas. Or I read about a new technique, so let me try that. His brain found a new negotiating point. Now, instead of arguing about when, it argued about how. The 5 am slot was reliable, but the sadhana became chaotic. You think variety in your spiritual practice keep you engaged, but variety is actually where depth dies. Every time you change your sequence, your brain has to remain in executive function mode. What comes next? Am I doing this right? Every small decision is a crack where your ego leaks back in. In the ashram, the sequence is absolute law. You don't decide which kriyas to do. You do what has been transmitted in the order it was transmitted for the duration specified. It is very much boring to the ego, and this is exactly the point. Arjun now logged it down. Exactly the sequence he learned. No YouTube editions, no skipping steps. It is just personal mandala, that is 48 days of identical practice. His mind went to war every morning. This is repetitive. You need something else. You are just going through the motions. By week 6, he was halfway in Surya Kriya before his conscious mind even woke up. The practice was taking care of itself. And this is what people don't understand about sadhana. It's not about feeling spiritual every day. It's about repetition until the practice gets inside your cellular memory. It becomes automatic. You're no longer doing the practice. The practice is happening through you. So now, on 35th day, Arjun got a severe cold. And on 40th day, he had a very urgent business trip. And this is where the home practitioner mindset kicks in. Sick day equals to skip day, and hotel room equals to impossible environment. And this is where everyone outside the ashram gives up, because they believe that perfect practice requires perfect condition. But the masters understand something about gaps that changes everything. If you break the cycle of sadhana, you aren't just pausing, you're sliding backward. What saved Arjun was understanding that practice doesn't require you feeling good. It requires showing up. The all or nothing lie has killed more spiritual growth than skepticism ever could. You tell yourself at home, if I can't do the full 90-minute sequence perfectly, why do anything at all? I'll wait until the weekend. This thinking creates gaps, and gaps are where our old karma crawls back in. Look at the volunteers in the ashram. They get sick, they get injured, they get exhausted, but they still enter the hall. Maybe they cannot do the physical postures physically, but they still sit in the presence of the practice. They visualize it, they maintain the connection, and that is still movement. But when you skip at home because you had a headache, that's not rest. It's a collapse of discipline. The energy you're trying to build yourself is like a river. The moment you stop the flow, it becomes the stagnant pool. Travel day arrived on day 40. Tiny hotel room. Arjun moved the furniture. He did his practice in the narrow space between the bed and the wall. It wasn't at all perfect. It was fully distracted, but he maintained the momentum. And this is the essence of sadhana. It must survive the contact with reality. And that's when people around him really started to notice. His wife said he was less reactive. His colleagues said he had a strange new stability. Someone else told him that you are taking it too seriously. Normal people needs a break. Believe me, when you hear those words, you know that you're finally escaping the trap of mediocrity. You're not trying to be normal, you're trying to be conscious. But here's what no one prepares you for when trying to replicate the ashram when at home. The chaos that the ashram is specifically designed to remove. The internet goes down before an important call. Your child wakes up screaming during meditation. The neighbor starts drilling at 6 a.m. These are consistency killers at home because you haven't pre-decided how to handle them. Every time unexpected domestic chaos happens, you have to make a decision under stress. And that decision in that moment of irritation will always be to abandon the practice to put out the fire. The chaos wins because you are fighting a battle on its territory. Ashram operate for centuries through crisis because the responses are predetermined. There are systems for food, system for conflict, system for illness. The individual doesn't have to invent a solution every morning. Now Arjun had to write down every domestic obstacle that had ever broken his consistency and pre-resolve them. For example, plan for kid waking up early. They know to sit with a book outside the door until the bell rings. Or plan for sickness, a modified, less intense sequence that still maintains the timing. And third, plan for extreme work demands. Waking up 30 minutes earlier, never cutting the practice short. When X happens, I do Y. No thinking, no negotiating with the ego, just execution. The power of this is that you stop leaking mental energy into managing your life during practice time. Your system knows better that no matter what happens tomorrow, the sadhana still continues. On day 70, Arjun's practice had become completely automatic. His body simply moved through the sequence like a programmed machine. Family visited, he practiced. Work crisis happened, he practiced. The practice continued because the answers to the practices has already been decided. On the 90th day, he completed the 2 full mandalas without a single gap outside the ashram wall. But something deeper had happened now. He wasn't just a guy doing yoga anymore. Friends literally told him that your intensity is a bit scary sometimes. And his response was perfect. Good. Because when your inner stability makes others uncomfortable, you're finally operating at the required level. Your existence proves that their excuses about not having time or being too hard at home are lies. That's why they will call you rigid. That's why they will call you are obsessed. They need you to soften up so that they can feel comfortable with their own inertia. But you're not doing it for them. You're doing it because you have discovered the secret of the ashram. Consistency isn't about willpower. It's about creating a structure that makes inconsistency impossible. When you implement these principles at home, sacred identity, prepared container, unchangeable sequence, and pre-resolved answers, You aren't just doing another exercises, you're actively dismantling your old personality. You stop being someone who tries to meditate and instead become a meditator. And when that happens, people will look at you and think, how does he even do that amid all this noise? And the answer will be very simple. He isn't amid the noise. He is within his sadhana. Now the question remains, are you ready to stop playing a spiritual tourist and actually build the structure required for transformation? Because it's not about adding a new hobby, it's about the death of your excuses and the birth of a stable being. This level of discipline won't make you a normal person, it will make you much more capable. And when people say you have changed, you will know that you have finally succeeded. Now, closing this video, if this video changed your perspective on what it takes to maintain real sadhana in the real world, subscribe to the channel, share this video and activate the bell icon. And tell me in the comments what is your sacred space declaration going to be. How will you build an ashram within your own home? Remember, the intensity that scares others is the only intensity that transforms you. So if you have watched this far, thank you for your attention. Do share this video with your friends and family members and also like and subscribe the channel. Up to next, stay safe, healthy, happy and namaskaram.